The number of people stabbed to death in the UK is at its highest level since the end of the Second World War. 285 people were killed with knives in the year-to-date March 2018, 212 the year before, a massive increase. And all of this is going on as the police are subject to fiercer and fiercer funding cuts. There are 21,000 fewer police officers on our streets, and funding has decreased overall by 19%. The Prime Minister Theresa May, however, has been at pains to deny any link between police cuts and the increasing crime rate. And if that makes you sceptical, you're not the only one. Jeremy Corbyn has accused the government of causing the crisis by gutting the country's police forces.
Ensuring there are sufficient resources for the police to deal with it.
We are in Lewisham as police starts Operation Sceptre. The intention to recover and remove weapons from this area, glass mills in Lewisham. Police officers all around us here, searching, getting down on their knees, looking through the foliage in the area surrounding this piece of water. It's not pedestrianised, but basically what will happen is young people, people in gangs will hide and stash weapons here, and the intention of the police officers is to find them and confiscate them. Victoria Atkins is the Minister for Crime, Safeguarding and Vulnerability. We spoke to her while the Metropolitan Police conducted their search.
Today I'm delighted. So far they haven't found anything. That's a good sign.
So would you accept then that the more police officers there are, the less violent crime there is in a certain area?
Well, I think what we know is that serious violence, there are many factors that cause serious violence. The major driver actually is the drugs market. We are investing up to £970 million more in the police next year, and I'm really pleased that lots of police and crime commissioners are choosing to use that money to put extra officers on the street.
But you'd accept then that the number of police officers is a factor in reducing violent crime?
I think the police are really a really vital part of this equation. Of course they are. There is much more to this than law enforcement alone. We have to make sure that we're intervening early on these young children particularly who are being ensnared by some of these gangs. Funding that we're putting into early intervention over the next 10 years I hope will reap some really positive benefits for these young people. It's not normal to carry a knife. It can create great harm, and we want to steer a child away from that before they get into trouble. I'm a mum and I can't even begin to imagine. This is what's so heartbreaking. These are our children.
I grew up here, all my children were born in this borough. My son was murdered in this borough. Jimmy was murdered the day after his 16th birthday. Went into a local bakery shop around the corner from where we live. In there was a local older person, a 19-year-old, very well known locally for his violence. Attacked Jimmy, a totally unprovoked attack, ended up with Jimmy having a glass dish smashed in his face. The glass shattered and a piece of glass went through Jimmy's neck, through his carotid artery, his jugular vein, embedded itself in his spine, through much force. Jimmy died within 3-4 minutes of the attack actually starting. Absolutely, totally unprovoked, unnecessary, outrageous crime. From that has evolved what we now term our Safe Havens programme. The young students from a local school will meet their local shopkeepers, their local business owners, strike up a relationship with them. And then from that to gradually, as you establish a relationship, to then ask these shops to be a safe haven. If I'm worried, if I'm scared, can I come into your shop? Would you shut the shop, call the police, call my parents, whatever it may be.
I'm Lawrence from Crep Select in Lewisham Shopping Centre. Most valuable is this one. So these are the Jordan 1 Off-Whites. They were signed by Virgil, who owns Off-White. So the shoe on its own is worth about £2,500. With the signature, I'm going for £6,000. So I went to the same school as Jimmy Mizen. I was in, the older brother was the year above me. Where the incident actually happened is where I grew up. That's my mum's road. So obviously I'm tied to it anyway. It is something I care about. We've been here nearly 3 years now, and we've had incidents before the charity was involved. It is seen as somewhere, if kids do come in, they know they can sit in here, charge their phone, have a chat, and not buy anything. It is more than just a shop.
We've got to try and help them get out of the cycle of violence that some of them are in. It's not everyone, we must emphasise that, but those that are, we've got to help mums and dads get their children out of those situations so they're not suffering the terrible nightmare of losing a child.
You seem very emotional. It's something that you can obviously relate to.
It's the worst part of my job. I take my job very seriously. It's a huge privilege, and every time I meet a mum or a dad who's lost a loved one, I feel terribly about it, and you couldn't help but do so because it's their child.